What's happening, guys? Happy Sunday and welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, it is a mock draft. Everybody loves a mock draft. I love a mock draft. You love a mock draft. So let's do a mock draft. I have two fine gentlemen with me. The first, my normal co host. You know him better as that Michigan Spartan dog, the man of the hour, and the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair. Buddy, what's going on?
Killing time till basketball, talking a little football in the meantime. The most important thing, though, who gives a shit about Jerry Sinclair when Big John is in the motherfucking building?
Yep, we do. The Big John in question is John McGlynn. John is the host of the Dynasty Evaluation Show. You can find that wherever you find podcasts. Just search Dynasty Evaluation, and you can follow him along on Twix at John McGlynn 75. Big John, man, welcome back. It's been a little while.
Guess who's back? Back again. Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on. I love you guys, man. It's awesome coming on the show. You guys are absolutely fantastic to create some content with. Happy to be here all the time. Saw my daughter off to college today. Drinking a couple beers. Sorry to see her go. Watched some basketball. Went to Buffalo Wild Wings already. Got my toes did with my daughter and my wife. So it's been a busy day.
You know, we're going to get right into the mock draft. I don't even have a good people, bad tweets for you, but we are going to spend a couple of minutes on the pedicure because I'm just going to put it down for all the guys. And I've seen the statistics. We are overwhelmingly guys. Shout out to my girl, Brittany. She not only does the thumbnails for our YouTube channel, but she is an avid listener. So shout out, Britt. But as a guy, it's okay, like quarterly, to go get your feet done. You go with your wife, you get a pedicure. Tip them well because they're touching man feet. I highly recommend a good tip. But don't be the guy. You know, summer's right around the corner. It'll be flip-flop season. You'll be wearing Birkenstocks, all those things. John, kudos to you for getting your corn chips taken care of.
The funny thing is that I'm not a big pedicure guy. My daughter was in town. She's like, come on, Dad, let's go. So I have this actual thing that I have that in the shower, and it kind of gets the shit off the back of your feet, you know, like when you so I thought my feet were actually pretty good. I go in there. This poor girl spent about 35 minutes with this cheese grater, like just killing my feet. It was like she had to bring newspaper out, and then she mopped after me. I'm like, what happened? I thought my feet were in pretty good shape, and I had some Fred Flintstone shit going on, dude. It was bad news. I felt so bad. I'm like, hey, here's $40, man. I really appreciate it. Sorry about, giving your shoulder arthritis from my dogs, but it was it was so bad. I got one time my wife's 40th birthday, went to Mexico, and she's like, I don't want to be seen with you on the beach with those feet. You're going to get a pedicure before we go. I'm like, okay, cool. And I had no idea how bad that was. The first time I got one in 30, like I think it was 40 years. That was the first time I got one. This poor girl, it was like she was peeling potatoes at like an army base for a half hour, just stripping off layers of shit on my feet. I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea my feet were this bad. So now every once in a while I go and I get them done probably twice a year, but I should probably do it like 4 times a year, like you said.
Yeah, quarterly, do your taxes, get your dogs worked on. And I will tell you, your lady or partner or whatever, they will appreciate when you suggest, hey, let's go grab lunch. Let's go get our feet did. They'll look at you a little strange, but I tell you, it makes a wonderful Saturday afternoon date. Anyway, enough pedicure talk. Real quick, I mentioned the Spartan dogs, Jerry's Michigan State Spartans. You guys, what's up with March Madness? John, I know you're a big, I don't want to say gambling guy, but you're a guy who likes sport and fun things. So how blown up is your bracket?
I don't have a bracket. I have squares. I have like 27 squares. I run a square. Every time I go to collect money for my squares, everybody asks me to be in their kids' lacrosse. My daughter's lacrosse team is a square. My son's hockey team is a square. My daughter's dance team is a square. This thing, I'm like, yeah, okay, put me in. I don't even know what numbers I have. At the end of the time, I enjoy the games because I don't watch NBA basketball. I grew up in the Michael Jordan Bulls era. I'll never see a game of basketball as good as what I did when I was in my high school years, when I saw the 2 3-peats in a row. So I could care what's going on in the NBA anymore. I'm a hockey guy. I'm a football guy. I watch baseball. If I go to see the White Sox at Comiskey Park, other than that, I don't really care about baseball. But fantasy hockey and college March Madness are probably, March Madness is absolutely watching these cheerleaders and it's like watching college football. The cheerleaders and the pomp and circumstance and the fans and all this stuff. It's so cool to watch these young kids on the way up, like getting their shot. They have their spot of fame, and the upsets that are happening in these things are so cool. It's my favorite. I mean, nobody, you can't beat March Madness time. It's almost like Christmas season. You know, you see all the brackets, all the stuff everywhere. It's so cool to watch March Madness.
Jerry, and what about your Spartan dogs? I know you're enjoying it for I'll share the two things and then we'll get into the mock draft that I'm enjoying. But March Madness going good for you?
Yeah, they're playing a little bit here. My bracket's actually doing well, which is wild because I screw that up every single year, but it's doing good. I think I have all my Sweet 16 teams are in it. Jen and HR is still beating me in my work bracket, but you know, I feel like Jen and HR always wins the work bracket, right?
I mean, that's how it works. I will look tomorrow. We do a company wide. You know, as March Madness has grown, it's like it used to be like you're like sneaking off like you're dealing crack, and like everybody's filling out brackets and giving the $10 to one guy or whatever. Now it's like it's ran by our corporate office, and everybody fills one out, and there's prizes, and we still do the $10 one too. But the two big things for me that was fun was the kid who was the manager for McNeese State. That was a fun story. I thought that was cool. The coolest thing that I saw as like a coach and a parent, and I think, John, you'll validate this for me as well, was the referee. There was about a minute left to go in the game, and the referee saw a young man, and like he probably hadn't played the entire game. It was for Liberty, and he called time and pretended like there was a wet spot on the court so that young man could get his 55 seconds in the NCAA tournament. I thought that was as cool a thing as you could have done. They could have just ran the clock out, got it over with. That kid may never get another chance to do something like that. So I didn't really enjoy the basketball as much as I enjoyed the stories. Jerry, is that fair?
That's fair. You
okay.
know, I got Tom Izzo, all the little leprechaun himself, leading my boys to glory. So I always love March Madness time.
Well, speaking of leading us to glory, let's hear a quick word from next week's guest about the Origins Fast Draft promo.
Rookie. It's all about rookie talk in fantasy football right now. So why not go use all that knowledge to do something other than a mock draft? Chris Jimino won $8,000 with just 2 teams last year, and each draft took 5 minutes. That's pretty good ROI. You can start doing rookie drafts for money today on Fast Draft. The Origins tournament is live. It is the place to go and monetize your knowledge of rookies and use your favorite player profiler host promo code for a $25 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
And real quick on the Fast Draft Origin tournament, I live in Indiana. We have online like sports betting. We have casinos. We have a state lottery. Like, we're a big fan of gambling here. But for whatever reason, I can't play Fast Draft. But here's the thing. Not this coming weekend. Next weekend, I'm going to be in Tennessee with my son. And it is 100% legal in Tennessee. I can play. I will be, in fact, drafting my ass off. And if you want to be drafting your ass off with me in the Origins rookie tournament, be on there next weekend. And if you haven't signed up, go download the app and use promo code WarZone. Remember last week, Jerry, where I told them they got $25 if they deposited $50?
Yeah, buddy.
I'm going to use one of John McGlynn's favorite sayings, and we're going to say, bartender, make it a double. Now, if you deposit $50, they're going to match it up to $50. And the Origins draft tournament is only about 30% full, and it closes toward the tail end of April. So a good chance at some good ROI. Check out Fast Draft, check out Origins, and use promo code WarZone at sign up and deposit, and you will be drafting your ass off. All right, speaking of drafting your ass off, that is what we're here for. We are here to draft our ass off. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give Jerry the 101 because it's boring and it's slow and it should go very quick. And as I said in the pre-show meeting, we're going to kind of speed through round 1 because we've done several mock drafts. You've probably heard several mock drafts. And I think where we start making money for you guys as Dynasty gamers is in the back end of that second round, in the top of the third round. So as always, tight end premium, super flex. We're going to call it a 1.5 tight end premium. And Jerry, I'm going to give you the 101. And people always bitch, Jerry. People always complain. Where's draft board? Where's draft board? Where's draft board? Shout out to my boy Austin from the podcast on our channel, the Dynasty Front Office. If you want to check out the Dynasty Front Office, it's on the Dynasty WarZone YouTube channel and podcast channel. Shout out to Austin for showing me all things that are possible through both God and Sleeper. And we're going to pop up right here live on Player Profiler Now Plus. Ta-da! That is a draft board. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that pretty? So if you're watching,
I'm lazy and Randy's old. Of course, we haven't had draft boards before. Give us a break.
but you know what? Austin's a go-getter, and he's a tech-savvy guy, and he's not old. So here we go. I am going to place the picks. We don't actually have to make them. We're just going to go 1, 2, 3, repeat. So it's going to go Jerry, John, me, and then we're going to repeat that cycle until we get through as many rounds as possible. When we see something controversial or interesting pop up, we will discuss that player. But Jerry, tell me the 101.
Ashton Genty, not getting cute. I know it's a super flex draft. I don't care. The quarterbacks gave me a little hesitation. I'm sticking with the big guy.
Super easy stuff. Now, John, you recorded with me beforehand for our patrons at patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone about some of your guys. You're a big old Marion Hampton fan. You are, in fact, our guest. I am giving you the 102.
This is fantastic. I walk right into it. I mean, I'm not going with Cam Ward. I think he's going to be probably a whole year on the bench. I'm not sure he's ready, NFL ready right now. And as much as I like Tyler Warren, I know he's a beast. I don't think that a 0.5 premium is enough to take a tight end this early by any means whatsoever. I'm not a Ted McMillan guy. There's some other receivers I like that I can get way later in the draft that some people are good or bad on. And I'm kind of afraid what I'm doing right now because I feel like I'm putting my hand in a mousetrap by not taking one of the good receivers. But at the same time, I know I'm pretty sure I can get a decent receiver later. I'm going with Marion Hampton because I had the gift of no NFL draft capital yet. And I see him possibly getting drafted by the Raiders. And if he goes to the Raiders, he is a 1-for-1 Josh Jacobs replacement. He can handle the workload. He's a stud. He can catch balls on the backfield. He can do everything. I don't like that Marion Hampton pops up and then takes off, kind of thing. I wish he would just had that initial burst and just go through the line like Caleb Johnson does. But everybody has their own issues. I'm just going to take Marion Hampton here at number 2 because of the fact that I think he's the next best player available.
I couldn't agree more. And I've had the good fortune to do, I'm also doing the guest rounds. I did the Sonic Truth this week. I did the Dynasty Front Office this week, and we did a mock draft the other day. I'm big on a Marion Hampton. Depending on landing spot, I really think he could push. He could push Ashton Genty for the 101. He won't when ADP comes out, but he could. He could. I like the Raiders call. I also like the Broncos. Broncos are my 101 of landing spots, and if this guy, I'm going to take him 103. I'm going to go Travion Henderson from the Ohio State Buckeyes. I really like his teammate Quinshon Judkins quite a bit. I like the guy's game. I do like Quinshon Judkins' size, and I'm not going to fall in love with the tweet that was posted the other day of him absolutely getting after it in the weight room because that's what I expect these guys to do. But man, he just looks like a young Derrick Henry. And as much as I love a Marion Hampton, it's the same build. He's actually, Judkins, I believe, is the number 1 athletic score on player profiler for this rookie running back class. And his best comparable on player profiler, Nick Chubb. I like Judkins, but I'm going to go with the guy I think is the better pass catcher. So, Jerry, back to you at 4.
Just for the listeners' historical reference, Travion Henderson in our first mock draft went 11. And then about a month ago, we did another one. He went 8. Now he's going 3. Randy is definitely falling in love. I will take Cam Ward here only because it's super flex. I don't really feel great about it. If you want me to be honest, he's obviously a guy that if he hits, he's going to have a high ceiling. But if he doesn't, taking him at 104 still doesn't feel good. And even that is a value from where I've sort of been seeing him going. So I'm going to take him. But in this situation, if this were my actual team, I would probably be trying to trade back a couple spots.
All right, John, anything on Cam Ward or Travion Henderson before you hit the draft button? Well, I'm going to hit the draft button. But before you say, hey, I want player X at number 5.
I probably would have took Cam Ward here if I was able. If Tet was taken here or Tyler Warren was taken here, I probably would have gone Cam Ward because, like we said, it was super flex. So Superflex is a big deal. I grew up playing 2 quarterback leagues for 10 years before I got into 1,000 dynasty leagues. But I understand the importance of a quarterback. And when you don't have one, or you don't have a guy what happens if people, sit on Cam Ward and all of a sudden he gets in a lot sooner than we thought, and he ends up being a stud. Man, if I would have passed up Cam Ward at pick number 4, or even right now, and I would have took a Mika Ibuka or Caleb Johnson or Luther Burden or something like that, just because of the fact that I was kind of shaky about his long-term or his an immediate value. I think his dynasty value is what we're looking at now. We all play in dynasty leagues. This is a dynasty podcast. I think Cam Ward should have been this pick for sure. I was kind of drooling. I thought you were going to take somebody else, but Cam Ward would have been my pick for sure.
All right, and then bless us with the 105, good sir.
This might be a little bit crazy as far as some people are concerned, but I think Luther Burden is the next best wide receiver here. So I'm going to jump what people have for rankings now. He kind of fell because his college production wasn't so good. My co-host, JT Orange, Justin Taylor, he's a huge Missouri guy. And he kind of talked me into it. And I watch all Luther Burden tape. And, just a bad quarterback, bad situation. I don't care about the numbers. I'm a Luther Burden guy. I'm taking Luther Burden right now, even over a tight end. Even over, Emeka Ibuka, which I like Emeka Ibuka, but at the same time, I think Luther Burden is just a better wide receiver.
Luther Burden is my wide receiver 1 in this class as well. I know a lot of people like Tataroa McMillan. I listened to the Podfather and RC Fisher this week, and the Podfather, that man's got a silver tongue. He was, he wasn't sticking to Tet. He was Tataroa the whole podcast. Good on him. But Burden, for me, much like Cody Carpentier, he's my wide receiver 1 in the class. I think that's how you win in the NFL. I know a lot of people do like Tet McMillan as their wide receiver 1, and they're welcome to it. I'm just going to go ahead and take my tight end 1. I thought about going running back, but I do believe there are a lot of really good running backs in this class. I don't believe there are a lot of really good tight ends in this class. I think there's some guys with some upside. I think the only thing that's close to a sure thing at the tight end position is Tyler Warren, because he is a monster physically. He's a good blocker, and I think he's going to go in the top half of the draft and going to get peppered with targets. He'll never come off the field. And even though it's only a 1.5 premium, he's a guy that I'll be curious when I do my not rookie tight end rankings, but my overall tight end rankings after the rookie draft where I slot him in. But I'm going to throw it back to Jerry. Anything on Burden or Warren before we go to your pick at 7?
I'm going to be honest. If this draft so far, if I was going to rank how I had my rookies, I think this is exactly how it would have gone for just me personally. And unfortunately, I'm to the point where I have to pick the guy that I don't really want to pick, and I probably will not have many leagues with him, and that's Tet McMillan. I mean, at 107, I'm fine to take him there. There's never going to be a situation where I have that opportunity, I don't think. But everything that you guys are skeptical about, I am too. I've been calling him Cortland Sutton since the beginning. And it's not that Cortland Sutton is bad. It's just you don't want to pay 104 for Cortland Sutton. 107 at 23 years old is still a little spicy for me. And there's a real situation where if Quinshon Judkins lands in a good spot, or Emeka Ibuka lands in a good spot, or Colston Loveland gets reunited with Jim Harbaugh or something, I'm going to keep letting him slip. But for this little test, I'm going to go with Tet McMillan.
All right, we're going to go back to John for the 108. John, anything on Tyler Warren or Tet McMillan before you draft your guy at 108?
Tyler Warren is, I think, like we said, he's the real deal in this class. He's a 101 as far as tight ends are concerned, and there's a big gap between him and everybody else. So, that's Tet McMillan. I watched Tet McMillan's. I watched his huddle tape from him in high school, and I watched him blocking punts and being a stud. I watched everything I can about Tet McMillan, and he is good. Don't get me wrong; he's really good. I like the Chris Godwins. I like the DJ Moores. I like the slot. I mean, those guys are a little bit bigger than the guys we're talking about right now, but I like slot receivers. I like guys who get pelted with targets. That's my kind of guy. It's okay. This isn't. I'm not looking for the best NFL player. I'm looking for the best fantasy football player. That's what we're drafting now. It's fantasy football. I want points on my team. I don't want it's not a best ball draft. This is, this is not a best ball draft, right? This is a regular.
No, this is a set your lineup.
I was like, oh shit, hold on a second.
No,
I'm setting my lineups. I don't play best ball, so I'm sorry if I'm hurting anybody, but I like setting my lineups. So Ted could be one of those guys where he just has these monster games, and people say, oh, he's the next Mike Evans. He's that good. Okay, that's fine. Well, have him on your team, and hopefully he turns into Mike Evans. But I want a slot receiver to catch the ball 1,000 times. So,
all right. Well, give us your bless us with the 108.
This is tough now because we're kind of getting in this area now. Do I want to take? I don't want to. I mean, we all know who these players are, so I don't want to. If I mention their names, it's like I'm hiding, unraveling a secret or something. But I'm really torn right now between Judkins and Egbuka because I like both. I'm not taking Shedeur Sanders. Colson Loveland is really close in question to this one. I think the Matthew Golden hype has got a little too far. So I'm. Everybody, the rule is draft running backs and trade for wide receivers. That's kind of what we do in fantasy. So I'm going to take Quinshon Judkins. I'm going to take Quinshon Judkins here, and then we'll figure that out after. I really want to take Emeka Egbuka, but it is what it is. I'm taking Judkins.
That's the right pick. And I've always agreed with this. Now I'm at the 109. My take on McMillan is, he's good, better, best. His best possible outcome would be Drake London. I don't see it, but that's his best possible outcome. His most likely outcome is like a T. Higgins, who's never had a wide receiver 1 season, but is like valued at wide receiver 15. And then Jerry, I think his floor is Cortland Sutton. I love Jerry's comp there. So good, better, best is Sutton to Higgins to Drake London. And I love Quinshon Judkins here. I am kind of with R.C. Fisher on this, and this goes back to like Tim Tebow. Anytime you have a quarterback that just creates a media circus, and I'm going to steal one of R.C. Fisher's takes, is that unless you want Deion Sanders to be your assistant head coach, you can't draft Shedeur Sanders because that's what it's going to be. After every Colorado game, every press conference, Deion on his podcast, God bless him for having one, he's going to have comments. You mentioned my philosophy. This is where I would go personally if this is how the draft fell out at the 109. Now, if I needed a quarterback and it's a super flex and I've only got 2 on my roster, maybe your 3 was Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers and you're not sure what they're going to be doing in September, then I could get drafting Shedeur Sanders here. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to stay at the running back position, and I'm going to draft a new Najee Harris. That's Caleb Johnson. Very athletically comparable to Najee Harris. I'll take him at the 109. I think that's good value for a guy that 6 weeks ago was probably the RB2-3 in this class. I think I'm getting good value at 9. So, Jerry, I'm going to throw it back to you. Anything on Judkins or Caleb Johnson before you hit the draft at 110?
I am happy you took Caleb Johnson because I'm going to take Emeka Egbuka and I'm going to sprint up to that podium for that. Like, I don't think Emeka Egbuka is a wide receiver 1 in a future, Justin Jefferson of our league. But if I'm picking at 110, I got a pretty good team. I might have gotten a little unlucky in the semifinals, and I think he's a rock solid wide receiver 2 that I can just plug in immediately, and he's going to be productive for a long time. Hell yes. Easy pick for me.
All right, John, I'm going to throw it to you. Obviously, you are picking 111 when you're ready. Anything on Caleb Johnson or Egbuka before we move on to your pick at 111?
I've already covered my love for slot receivers, so that's the Egbuka thing. But Caleb Johnson, I love the Big Ten. I love Iowa. And I think if you watch the games with Caleb Johnson, he has these monster holes all the time. And he's really good. And we talked about this pre-show. He's really good about as soon as the ball snapped, he hits the hole like a dart. I don't care about his 40 time at the combine or what it is. He knows where the hole's at, and he gets there right away. He is so fast to hit the hole, and he's the king of breaking arm tackles because of his size and his speed and the way he wait. But as soon as somebody gets contact, like straight on contact with him, it's like he has no force behind his body. I'm an electrician. I'm going to say like he's got a lot of ampacity, but his voltage isn't really that good. He's got a lot of power behind him, but he's got a lot of, he just can't finish getting away from the tackle. When somebody gets him on a straight forward, like smash inside the hole. He can't break tackles like that. He's good at breaking arm tackles, but he's not good at like shedding straight on hits. And so I don't know, man. It's one of those things where Caleb Johnson, if he lands somewhere with a bad offensive line, I just don't think he will be able to produce in the NFL. He needs like an Emmitt Smith, Dallas Cowboys offensive line to be a good running back, is the way I see it.
All right. That's why I called him the new Najee Harris, because that's what Najee Harris has battled for the last 4 seasons. All right. Give me your guy at 111.
This may be a little bit hot take-ish as far as, and I do like Colston Loveland a lot, and I'm really, really kind of tempted to take him right here, but I'm going to go Jackson Dart. This is a super flex, and I love quarterbacks, and I love having quarterbacks on my team, and I think as soon as Jackson Dart's picked, there's not a quarterback for a while. I don't want Jalen Milroe or Tyler Shue or Will Howard. This is the last. I might be reaching a little bit here, and I don't care if I'm reaching a little bit, but this is when you're in super flex and you have that quarterback kind of lock in your brain, you got to do what you got to do. I'm going to take Jackson Dart here so you guys don't get him.
All right. Jackson Dart, I think he's going to build off of the hype of Bo Nix last year. I do think if he lands in the right spot, and the right spot, guys, means good general manager, good offensive-minded head coach / offensive coordinator, a decent offensive line, some weapons to work with. If he gets that same exact dead nuts combination that Bo Nix has, I could see him being drafted here. I'm just going to do I do want to say a thing about Ibuka. He's a wide receiver too for me. He's locked in. You look at his college stats, and if his name was Bob Johnson and he went to the University of Detroit or another Ball State where I went to school, he went to one of those places, we're not talking about him. He didn't test at the combine. I'm sure he'll test at the pro day. He doesn't appear to be a special athlete, and his last 3 seasons of yardage are 515, just over 1,000. I'm telling you, he's getting that inflation of being an Ohio State wide receiver. He got slapped around by younger, not literally, but he got his lunch money taken for the most part this year in a championship season. Is he a bad player? Absolutely not. Is he the kind of guy that I'm spending first-round draft capital on? Also, absolutely not. And Big John said it absolutely correctly for me. It's a super flex draft. I'm the defending champion more than likely if I'm drafting at the 112. How do you continue to win championships? You have good quarterback play and Superflex tight end premium. And if this guy hits, then he could, he could be very tradable. So I'm going to go Shedeur Sanders. I do think he is a first-round pick. I think he's a last 3 pick of the first-round pick. So I'm going to go Sanders at 12. And Jerry, you're going to be on the clock. You can tell us anything you want about Jackson Dart or Shedeur Sanders, but I want to recap round 1 for the listener. All right, we had Ashton Genty at 1, Omarion Hampton 2, Travion Henderson 3, Cam Ward 4, Luther Burden 5, Tyler Warren 6, Tet McMillan 7, Judkins 8th, Caleb Johnson 9, Emeka Egbuka 110, Jackson Dart 111, Shedeur Sanders 112. Jerry, anything on Jackson Dart or Shedeur Sanders before you tell me who you want at 102?
I mean, when we're talking about 111 and 112 and you're getting the quarterbacks that are going to go in the first round, most likely, I got no beef with it. I don't love any of the quarterbacks that are in this draft, but goodness gracious, if Cam Ward goes 101 and he goes 104 in a super flex draft, and if either of these guys go in the first round, they go 111 and 112, you're fucking thrilled with how that goes. That said, speaking of thrilled, 201, Colston Loveland, once again, just running up there. I know Tyler Warren is a dog. Colston Loveland's a dog too. And now I hate him. He talked mad stuff about the green and white, and I'll never like a human being that does that, but dude dropped his nuts on us 2 seasons in a row, and he did it to a whole lot more teams than us too. So I am a fan of his dynasty value. I am probably going to have a lot of him. Unfortunately, I play in a lot of leagues with a lot of Michigan fans, so they probably like him a little bit more than I do, but I'm definitely going to be taking my stabs.
All right, John, I'm going to throw it to you. You kind of already said your part on Sanders. You dropped Loveland's name a couple of times in the first round. You were on the fence. But anything on Loveland before you draft at 202?
Yeah, I was just. I think I had my thing on mute on purpose because I knew that it was going to happen. I was like, oh, I wanted Colston Loveland here so bad. Even though it's a 1.5, he's the next best player available for sure. And everybody has their guys. Everybody's watched all the tape. Everybody's kind of did all the review. And I think Colston Loveland for sure is the best second tight end here. So it's there's a little bit of a tear break here for me as far as the rest of this is concerned. And Matthew Golden's been getting a lot of steam, like we talked about before. There's the RJ Harveys and Alec Ayamanor, and then I'm kind of torn here right now between two guys that I really like without reaching too much. Which this is going to seem like a reach to some people, and I'm sorry, but I'm here. I know I'm here to do good fantasy content, but I really, really want to take Elijah Arroyo right now because it's tight end premium, but I'm going to take Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. I think that he is almost a 1-for-1 for Ted McMillan, but you can get him in, the second round. Ted was the second wide receiver taken. I'm in the second round. I could probably waited a couple more picks to get Jaden Higgins, but I'm going to take him right now because I think he is going to be having more of an impact player than anybody else on the board right now. And I like drafting running backs, and there's a lot of running backs still to go, but this is my pick, Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. I think he's just, like I said, he's almost a 1-for-1 for Ted. Like people call him a Walmart, Ted McMillan, stuff like that, whatever. That's fine. He has a chance if he lands in the right spot. He could be better than Ted McMillan in this year's draft.
All right, I'm going to let Jerry talk about Jaden Higgins since he's out there literally in Iowa State territory. His wife is going to be an alum eventually, so I'll let Jerry touch on Higgins. I'm going to go Colston Loveland. And I thought
you're not, because I already picked him.
No, I'm not drafting him. I'm going to criticize.
Okay.
I'm going to go off the top rope with an elbow smash.
Well, I'm going to take Ashley Genty next. Well, okay, cool.
I thought this guy just Derek Zoolandered me there for a second.
Because Colston Loveland, it felt like the Kyle Pittses and Dalton Kincaids of the world have walked so Colston Loveland can run. He's not a great blocker. He's a good athlete. But he's like a big slot receiver. You're hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. And again, I guess good will say his good comparison's Dalton comparison. His better comparison, if he's lucky, is Evan Ingram. And his best case scenario is a Travis Kelce. I'll take the guy who's more of the Gronk / George Kittle type. And Warren, I think this is a great value for Loveland, though. So I'm not going to beat you up too. I got to beat you up because you're Jerry, and that's what I do. I'm sticking with the theme of running back, and I'm going to take my boy Dallas Hyder's guy here. It's Dylan Sampson from the University of Tennessee. For me, this very well could change if he doesn't get substantial draft capital, and that's one thing that I fear with this draft class. I think teams are going to continue to say, "Hey, we can wait. Hey, we need to prioritize safety. We need to prioritize linebacker. We need to prioritize a guard." And they're going to let these running backs slip. And I'm going to be focused more on my criteria needs to be talent, athletic performance, landing spot. Whereas normally you might give NFL draft capital a little bit more of a nudge. I think you're going to get a bunch of guys in the first round. And by a bunch, I mean 2 to 3. Then I don't think the second and third round is going to be as full as we may think with running backs because teams will just feel like they can wait. But if this guy gets day 2 draft capital and to a decent landing spot, I think he could creep into the back part of the first round. I'm going to go Dylan Sampson at running back. So, Jerry, I criticized your guy. Would you like to tell us anything about Jaden Higgins or Dylan Sampson before you pick it 204?
No, I'm always going to love my fellow Ames brother. I can only hope that if he's ever had Rico's Tacos, then he's a plus athlete because that's where all the best in the Ames area go to. Dylan Sampson, I'm cool with too. Where I'm going to go is probably going to piss you guys off a little bit, and it's also a weird pick. So we're just going to go with Travis Hunter right here and right now because I don't think there's a way in hell this man doesn't play some offense. And you're going to tell me that Travis Hunter is going to go to one of these extremely bad teams that don't have great wide receivers, except for the Giants, and he's not going to be a contributor, I just think you're higher than giraffe nuts. What would an NFL coach do to get Travis Hunter and then not play him when they know that he's capable of doing it and producing? I think there's a real chance this guy plays both sides. And I know it's wild and I know it's unpopular. And I know people hate Colorado players just to hate Colorado players because they're in the limelight all the time. Travis Hunter, if he solely played wide receiver, he would be my 102. And there's an argument he's the 101 in this class. And if he plays offense at all and I can get him at 204, boys and girls, the blood starts flowing to all the right parts of my body when I think about that.
This could be a steal if you're one of those drafts that draft like literally. I'm in a bunch of leagues where we draft literally the Sunday after the NFL draft. If you get him here and he does play consistent wide receiver, you are stealing. Now, John, you're back on the clock. Did you have anything on Dylan Sampson? And what do you think about the Hunter pick?
I have more to say about the Hunter, the Hunter pick. I honestly think that, well, it all depends on who drafts him. I think he's going to be a Patriot, first of all. That's what I think he's going to be. And I think either a team that needs him for defense is going to use him in, 4 wide receiver sets, and third down and long, trying to, or when it's 4th down and, 5, when they need it towards the end of the game, he'll play some. But if a team drafts him as a receiver and just uses him on like nickel and dime packages to cover on 3rd and long, or, whenever there's a high pressure situation, or I think that it all depends on what team he's going to go to. But if there's a team that of packages, probably, I mean, he's up there with one of the best receivers in this draft. Everybody says he's the best. Yeah, okay, he's probably pretty close to the best, but he's up there with a couple of guys. But I'm not really sure what he's going to play at. Right now, he's going this far because he's registered as a defense as on defense. So that's the only problem right now. If he said offense, he would have been probably the first receiver off this, but he would have been probably at 103, if not 102 or something like that in this draft right now. To be honest with you, I probably would have taken him pretty close to. I would have had a problem passing on him to take Omarion Hampton at 102, but I would have done that. I would have taken Hampton, number 2, just because, but it would have been real hard for me to press that button between those two guys. For you to get him at 2-4 in this draft right now, that's if he plays offense right now, you just you got nothing but fantasy points for the next 5 years in your dynasty team.
Of course, if he plays defense, then I set that pick on fire. But
that's
on fire, but
that's the risk.
That's the risk. All right, John, give us the 205.
205. Elijah Arroyo, this is kind of a no-brainer for me as far as that goes. I think he's just not saying that he's going to be – he only had one good year in college in Miami, but his good year in college in Miami was awesome. He had a lot of, like, wide open – like, if you look at the one, he had, like, a pop pass right in the middle on a 3rd and short or 4th and short. And, man, he was the only guy – it was like if somebody else had goal line defense set up and they were trying to do like a what I call the wedge, which people call the tush push and stuff like that, But – all of a sudden, Elijah Arroyo caught this ball, and it was him and 65 yards of green around him with nobody else even in the picture. I mean, those kind of things are, gimmies, but he had pretty good separation. He had pretty good, good and just an all-around good player. So I'm going to walk away with Elijah Arroyo here, who possibly could be probably the second best tight end in this draft. So that was kind of what I thought was my, right now I had him. I've been getting him at like 301, 302 in some drafts, and I think as soon as he gets drafted in the middle of the 2nd round in this year's draft, I think he's going to be a lot further up the boards than he is right now.
Well, he wasn't going to come back to your next pick because that was literally the guy that I had in mind to take at that position. That's a bummer, and this is why, like, if you have a guy and like you need a tight end, like you can't wait and think, I'll trade back. Just lock into your guy. And get him. I'm between 2 running backs here. I do not like this wide receiver class. I'm just going to be the wide receivers that I do like. Trey Harris. I'm not ready to push the button on Trey Harris yet. I'm going to stay true to form. I'm between 2 running backs, and for me, it will come down to draft capital and landing spot. I think they're actually more similar than they're different, but I'm going to go Ollie Gordon. And I thought about going another running back. I'm not going to say his name. Maybe he'll fall to me in in 2 picks. But Jerry, were you hoping Arroyo was going to fall to you? And then any thoughts on Ollie Gordon, kind of there in that area of the country you're in before you pick at 207?
Yeah, I mean, he's also in Tornado Alley, which is, he's probably got to be happy to get the hell out of Stillwater. No, Arroyo was an easy pick, and I knew in my bones that you were going to go with Ollie Gordon there. I'm going to go with Jalen Milroe, who I don't like at all. But we're at, what, 207? 207. He's unbelievably fast. He's a great athlete. I don't think he can throw the ball for a lick, but if he can grow and he can learn under somebody well, and I can hold on to him for 2 years and he gets an opportunity and maybe his athleticism is there too, maybe I see a mini Jalen Hurts. I don't think he's that talented enough, and I really, really have hated watching the man play. I'm going to be honest. He keeps losing to Michigan in bowl games, which is not a person that I'm going to enjoy when they do that. But I'm just going to take a shot because it's 207. It's a super flex league, and dude's an unbelievable athlete. So I'll take the gamble. I mean, if I was willing to go Travis Hunter at 204, going Jalen Milroe at 207 is not that much different.
I will say Jalen Milroe at 207 is a good gamble because because you mentioned it, you can put him on a taxi squad for 2 years. Like the ideal spot for him would be 2 years behind a guy like Geno Smith with the Raiders. That would be very nice. He's not forced to get out there right away. Geno, I've heard the term mentor a lot when people mention Geno Smith. That could be a great spot for any of these young quarterbacks to learn for a couple of years. John, anything on Milroe or Gordon, and then bless us with that 208?
I have nothing on Milroe. I don't. I mean, he's great for fantasy. We already saw with the Indianapolis Colts what happened with them. Your Colts, what happens? You draft a quarterback who can't throw the ball. I don't want the fantasy numbers for a half a season and then have a guy sitting on the bench on my roster because they can't win football games. It's about winning games. It's not about fantasy. I mean, this is about fantasy points, but NFL stands for not for long if you're not winning games in the NFL either. So I want nothing to do with Jalen Milroe. I hope whoever drafts him, nobody ever wants to wish ill on any of these kids coming to the NFL. It's their dream. It's our dream to watch them play. It's their parents' dream, their family's dream. It's everything that, come true for these kids living their best life. But it's myself, I don't see him as a NFL player or a fantasy player minus for a couple games. And if I draft him a little bit later than this, if he was in the end of the second round and I didn't have a choice, and as soon as he got a start, I would trade him away like that week. I would like, okay, here it is. I'm selling high right now. That kind of guy. So no,
I think that's honestly the perfect strategy for Jalen Milroe, if you want me to be honest, because I'm not a believer either. So I think if I did take a shot, if he fell this way late, I think that's exactly the play.
All right, John, give us the 208.
208 is RJ Harvey, Central Florida. So I just think that there's no way to pass on the guy. He's going to be a guy that just gets he can hand. I know he's a little bit small. 195 is not what we want for these running backs. And I know before show you had said before about these guys. There's a lot of big dudes in this draft. But there's also a lot of good running backs too. And I mean he had 235 carries in college, which isn't terrible. 22 touchdowns. I mean, you can't really. That's nothing that an undersized back. I'll take a chance on when you have production like that. So RJ Harvey is where I'm going to go here. I have never been an undersized back guy. If it's 210 or 212 under that before in my past, I wanted nothing to do with a running back that was small. That's kind of last couple of years have kind of changed my mind a little bit with a handful of players that came in undersized and overperformed. So I'm kind of lighting up a little bit. You got to be liquid in this dynasty in the world of this stuff. You got to change your philosophy. You have to adapt to what's going on in the NFL. It used to be one back for every team, one stud. Now you got a receiving back and an early down back, and then now you get guys who are big and can catch the ball, and then you get guys who are small and can still run through the tackles. RJ Harvey's kind of that guy I see this year being that kid that could probably break the system a little bit as far as being an all-around back, a little bit undersized too.
All right, I'm going to take a guy. It was between two. I'm going to go wide receiver. I'm going to break the running back log jam, and it is between two guys. I'm going to lean Trey Harris. I think Trey Harris. You're looking at a guy that fits a lot of NFL schemes. Not the fastest guy around, ran a 4.5, but he's a bigger guy. He's 6'2", and essentially, I mean, he's a couple inches shorter than Tet McMillan. They have a similar 40 time, and his college production's been steady, and so for me, second round feels like a steal. I will throw it back to Jerry. Anything on Trey Harris or RJ Harvey before you go to 10?
Nope. I think those are fine. I'm gonna go the hype machine. Matthew Golden.
Yeah.
Bro, put that spandex on and he ran lightning fast and everybody's nipples got all tingly. And they're talking about this man is, second wide receiver off the board. And to that, I say, get the fuck out of here. He's fine, but we're talking about a dude that's had 500, 400, and 900 yards in college. And he had Quinn Ewers, and he was at Houston. He's been in pass-happy offenses, and that's the kind of production we've seen. Like, he's fine. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm happy to have him at 210, but the hype for that man has absolutely gone crazy, and I appreciate you boys for just getting that level, finding the means, because good God, the hype is real. We do it every year. I mean, Xavier Worthy worked out. Don't get me wrong. He has the same Longhorn helmet. But goodness gracious, just because somebody runs lightning fast, when you already think they're going to run fast, and then they do it at the combine, and then you double give it to them, it's a wild thing that happens every single year. It'll happen next year also, but Matthew Golden, 210. I'll take the shot.
All right. John, anything on Harris or Golden, and then give us 211.
I was going to take Golden here, so you kind of beat me to the punch. I'm not a big, this is kind of a, I don't want to call a, like kind of a dead spot in the draft right now. There's a lot of players here. I think some of them are, they've all had like a little bit of overvalued, their values have fluctuated. I'm going to take a chance here on Harold Fannin. He was on all of my C2C teams. He's almost single-handedly won me some weeks in college in my C2C leagues. I love the dude. Now in the NFL, like we talked about some undersized guys or guys who don't block. He's being compared to Mike Gesicki sometimes. He's being compared to other guys who can never, line up, in line or do two tight end sets. They always have to play wide receiver, or a slot receiver. But that's okay. Like, this is fantasy. I don't want my guy blocking. I don't want my guy to just block all the time. I want my guy to catch passes. And Harold Fannin sure the hell can catch passes. He's good at it. He's really good at it. Just look at his college production. So I'm going to have to go Harold Fannin here. Might be a bit of a reach, but there's a handful of kind of it's kind of wishy-washy area right now. I feel like Harold Fannin is going to fall in the NFL draft to like probably maybe the mid-third or possibly I don't think it'd be a day 3 pick, but he'll probably be in the mid-third, kind of draft. So he's probably a day 2 pick, but it all depends on where he lands. If somebody drafts him and doesn't use him correctly, you just kind of wasted a pick on that one. It might take him a couple years to develop somewhere else. We've seen plenty of tight ends come in the NFL and can't fit a system somewhere and just get wasted away. It takes him 3 or 4 years to get on the field. Harold Fannin, I think, if he's used somewhere correctly, he could be right from the get-go. He could be a fantasy producer.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about the draft capital than I am the landing spot. If he's in a spot where he can be used or there's not much in front of him, he's got a shot. Our boy Nino Brown, huge fan. For me, I'm going to go with the Podfathers guy here, and it's a wide receiver, and it's Alec Ayomanor. That's how he pronounced it. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. Big body dude out of Stanford. I think he's like a Michael Wilson plus. I liked Michael Wilson. I think this is a steal. The NFL is going to tell us what they think about him when we get to the actual NFL draft. But we are through the second round. I will recap it. We're going to have to do a lightning third round, like name the guy, and then we got to go. You can give us like a blurb. But 201, Colston Loveland. 202, Jaden Higgins. 203, Dylan Sampson. 204, Travis Hunter could be the steal of the draft. 205, Elijah Arroyo. 206, Ollie Gordon. 207, Jalen Milroe. 208, RJ Harvey. 209, Trey Harris. 210, Michael Golden. 211, Harold Fanning. And 212, Alec Ayo Manor. So we're going to jump back into round 3, the lightning round. We want to get you 3 rounds. We said we get you 3 rounds, but let's take just a quick word to hear about the Dynasty Deluxe package.
If you play in Dynasty, you need Dynasty Deluxe, our premium package for Dynasty Leaguers. We rank over 300 players, updated every week, all year long. And there's a win now mode and a rebuild mode with Superflex and tight end premium controls. And a Dynasty League sync where you can say, sync down all of my sleeper teams, all my FFPC teams, and then you can browse around your leagues for who has needs, and then you can use our trade finder to see what kinds of trades are happening in leagues that are similar to the one I want to do. Then you can analyze trades using our trade analyzer, which balances the lifetime value, which includes pick values out to like 2028. All of that plus the rookie guide, $25 value is included. So if you're just in one Dynasty League, Dynasty Deluxe is well worth it. And use your host's promo code, and you can bump up to all in and get $25 off.
There you go. Use promo code. Again, the promo code for that fast draft is WarZone, all caps, all one word. It'll take care of you. And the rookie draft is live. It dropped yesterday. It is gorgeous. Check that out. Get the deluxe all-in package. Use promo code WarZone. All right. Lightning round, you get 15 seconds. Give me a name, and then we'll recap at the end of the show. So, Jerry, you're on the clock, 3:01, and go.
Quinn Ewers. Haters can hate.
Okay. I mean, I thank you for not using your full bank of 15 seconds, but
Listen. 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions his first year starting, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions his second year, 31-12 this past year. He's gone to the college football playoff twice. He's got tons of experience. He was a high-profile recruit, and he's never actually looked bad. Let's be honest. He doesn't look like he sets the world on fire, but he's never actually looked bad.
You had it perfect. You had to get that last sentence in. John, you're up 3:02.
3:02. All right, we are going Jalen Noel. I'm going to take both the Iowa State guys. So sorry about that. I'm taking all your Iowa people, but Jalen Noel, I think he's going to be a quality receiver in the NFL. He can fit in a lot of team systems. I think he's just as far as quality is concerned, I think he's the best quality, best player available right now as far as who's left on the board.
Well, and if you listen to the Podfather and RC Fisher, they think that Noel could be the better of the 2 Iowa State wide receivers. Just an opinion, but that's how highly he's thought of. I'm going to do it. Give me the big running back. Give me Mr. Cam Scattaboo. I don't need to tell you guys about this guy. This could be the biggest hit of the draft or the biggest miss of this draft. I can't wait to see where he lands and what kind of opportunity he gets. Jerry, 3:04.
I'm going to take Mason Taylor. Just get some tight ends off the board. He's an athlete. I'll take a shot.
That's a good pick right there.
That is actually a great pick because it's going to give, given the format, tight end premium, very important to get extra tight ends and quarterbacks. Go ahead, Big John. 3:05.
Rock, chalk, Jayhawk, Devin Neal, baby, running back. I like Devin Neal. I mean, there's not much not to like about Devin Neal. I would have taken him above Cam Scattaboo for sure, and I would have taken him above Mason Taylor, even though I like Mason Taylor, but I'm a big fan of Devin Neal. I think he's going to do wonderful things in the NFL for his size, speed, and everything.
I love him too, and I could easily see this guy creeping up to the Ollie Gordon range where Ollie Gordon went at the 206. Given and that goes for a lot of guys. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my guy. He's not the most athletic. He didn't kill it at the Senior Bowl. But a guy that I really like because I would love to see him go in the 3rd round to either Jacksonville or the New England Patriots. A guy who's comped to Wes Welker in a Josh McDaniels offense is Xavier Restrepo. Perfect. That's a comp for him. I think getting him in the 3rd could be a huge steal. So I'm going to go Xavier Restrepo. Back to you, Jerry.
I'm going to take my guy, Damian Martinez. Doesn't test very well, not the most overly productive guy, but he did well enough at Oregon State. He did well enough in Miami in that offense, and he just fucking fights for yards. And I love guys that just fight for their yardage. John talked about how he doesn't like little running backs. I don't either. I want guys to be bloody and beat up at the end because look at me. You think I'm doing that? Hell no. That's why I respect guys that do.
All right, Big John, 308.
This is I'm going to say Jack Beck here just because of the fact I think Jack Beck is an underrated wide receiver. A lot of people don't understand what he did at TCU and throughout his college career. He is just a polished player. He's someone that I think wherever he goes, wherever he lands, he could show up on any team and just fit in an offense. I think Jack Beck is one of the gems of this year's draft.
All right, this is a great spot to get the guy that I'm going to get because it's the back end. You finished in the final four of your league. You have the ninth overall pick. You are in the semifinals, and this is a great spot to reach for some quarterback depth. I'm going to go Tyler Sowell. I hope I'm pronouncing this guy's name correctly. I'm probably not. I'm horrible with names. I actually got called out for that recently. Cool. I'm taking him. Everything that Jerry said about Quinn Ewers applies to him, except he's like 35 years old, fork truck certified. That's okay. I'm going to take Tyler Sowell before he goes somewhere else. So back to you, Jerry.
Oh, my last pick. Let's go Terrence Ferguson. It's the third round. It's a premium. I'm just going to try and take as many stabs at tight end as I can. He was productive enough at Oregon. Just taking a shot.
And the fastest guy at the tight end position this year. All right, John, back to you.
I'm going to go with somebody who I like better than him. I'm going to go with Rondé Gadsden. I think he's a better tight end than Terrence Ferguson. So I'm going to use my 15 seconds here and say that the kid has got a good bloodline. He comes from good stock. He's got NFL. I mean, he grew up around NFL players. He knows what it takes to be an NFL player, and he's a great athlete, great everything. Rondé Gadsden is my pick right here.
All right, I'm just going to go Isaiah Bond, get it over with. Probably a bit of a fall for him, to be quite honest, but that is the lightning fast third round. I will recap it for you very quickly. Quinn Ewers, 301. Jalen Noel, 302. Cam Scattaboo, 303. Mason Taylor, 34. Devin Neal, 305. Xavier Restrepo, 306. Damian Martinez, 307. 308, Jack Beck. 309, Tyler Sowell. 310, Turd Ferguson. 311, Rondé Gadsden. And 312, Isaiah Bond. We had to hustle. We put on our running shoes for three guys who don't really run. We put on our hustling shoes, and we got through the third round. I think the second and the third round will be the thing that helps Dynasty gamers the most. I'll start with our guest. John, was there anything that you took away from this draft that caught you off guard or anything that you were excited about? Anything from that perspective?
No, Jerry sniped me a couple times, but it's to be expected. So it is what it is. Isaiah Bond has fell. You know, I run a bunch of Mighty McGlynn home leagues in the Chicagoland area, and we've been doing mock drafts a couple times. And guys are moving, you know, pre-combine drafts, post-combine drafts. There'll be, you know, more mock drafts after the NFL, right before the NFL draft, right after the NFL draft. A lot of these guys, most of them haven't moved too much lately after post-combine. But it's Isaiah Bond, I think, has felt like probably the most. Cam Scattaboo went up the most because of the, you know, watching him play at Arizona State versus that game in Texas. My wife, my kids were all sitting here in the garage rooting for Cam Scattaboo. It was a great story, but there's a lot of good stories in the NFL that don't pan out. I'm not sure Scattaboo is going to be an NFL running back, consistently producing NFL running back. But this draft, as much as I got sniped on my positions, that means that we're all kind of on the same page, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and Jerry, any big takeaways from you on this particular mock draft?
No, I do feel like all three of us do feel very similarly to a lot of players that I think other guys like a lot. So that made it a little bit harder to get through. But honestly, you know, I like doing these just because I can get that. Which tiers of guys do I want, and which spots am I going to take my gambles on? And I think once we hit the middle of the second, I'm fine with picking whoever the hell I want, honestly, in this group of guys.
I feel like a few of us had our reaches. Like we had our reaches. We had, like you could see like who wanted who to go where. Like you were kind of like, or took guys like, I didn't see him going there. So this was cool, even though it's pretty close to our same evaluation. It was pretty close. We had the same mentality for sure.
Yeah, and I just like drafting. It's a lot of fun. I will say this: don't be prisoner of ADP.
Right.
My number one draft advice for anybody, whether it's startup, rookie draft, or anything in between, you don't have to get crazy with the cheese whiz and start doing it 9 picks out. But like when you're in the hole, like I'm a big baseball guy. You're up to bat, you're on deck, or you're in the hole. When you're in the hole, you need to look at the 3 best players available on your board. That might be by need, that might be by best player available, whatever your philosophy is. But write those 3 names down. You can text it to yourself. You could actually get an old school pen and piece of paper and write those 3 names down. You can print off a list and circle your guy, because then when you're on the clock, you're not freaked out. You had 3 guys, and here's the 3 guys that I will take if they're available. Very rarely will it come back to bite you. And because you feel comfortable with who you're picking, you can look to trade back or maybe not, but you can then use the time to make moves, offer trades, whatever that may be, as opposed to being paralyzed with paralysis by analysis, trying to figure out the right pick. You've already got your pick. You're just seeing if you can get a better deal. Speaking of a good deal, it was a good deal for us to get John on the podcast tonight. He was like, "You guys need a guest for Sunday?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, we need a guest for Sunday." I was like, you are the guy who's following the Podfather, preceding the Podfather. But John, I think you kicked a lot of ass, and you've been kicking a lot of ass with the Dynasty Evaluation. You mentioned your co-host. Tell us everything about the show. Tell us where to find it so that these people can support you and the Dynasty Evaluation Show.
Dynasty Evaluation. I'm on Fantasy and Frames. That Jorge's got a good thing going over there. He's got a lot of people trying real hard to get do the best he can with IDP and everything. Dynasty Evaluation used to be called Commissioner Evaluation, and I think a lot of people thought it was a commissioner-based show, so didn't have a lot of people listening or interaction. I've changed the Dynasty Evaluation, but we do anything from rookies to draft coverage to every in week. We're talking about lineup setting. We're talking about trades. Mostly a lot of my home league stuff. That we have 8 home leagues of all guys. Pat Fitzmaurice and Nick Scripp and a lot of good dudes around here that are just kind of you see them in Andy Barron's. We see these guys in the fantasy world, but they're in my home leagues too. And it's pretty cool kind of seeing these dudes and interacting with them at in-person drafts and drinking beers and drafting or trading in person is the best thing in the world. That's what Dynasty Evaluation is about. It's based around my home leagues, the Mighty McGlynn Dynasty home leagues, and it's my favorite thing to do. Some people fish, some people hunt, some people kind of do all that kind of stuff. I just like covering football from rookie draft, from the end of the NFL Super Bowl all the way to the kickoff of the NFL Super Bowl next year and everything in between. College. I don't do IDP. I'm not there yet. I'm not that kind of a sicko, but some people are. I'm not that guy. So everything else besides that, I'm in.
And John mentioned it, man. He's in the Chicagoland area. He mentioned some of the heavy hitters. He's for those of you that have been around the WarZone for a while, he's in a lot of leagues with our boy Kyle August. We miss you, Kyle. If you're listening, we miss you. We miss the FF fellas. I hope you and Seth are doing well. Jerry, anything that you're taking away or anything that you want to share with these people before we get out of here?
No, just thanks for coming on, John. You've been around since the earliest days of this thing. I was glad I got to see you in Canton. What do you got, Randy? You got some smart ass thing to say? I'm trying to be nice to the man.
I do. I actually don't have something smart ass to say, but I can see where you would go with that. I want to say this, and I'm not trying to rat Jerry out before the Podfather comes on the podcast next week. I will just say Jerry's reaction was much more visceral when I told him that John was coming on the podcast. I said, hey, about 2 weeks ago, I was like, hey, Jerry, Matt, the Podfather's coming on the show. In typical Jerry fashion, he's like, cool. Yeah, that'd be great. Awesome. And I was like, I texted him earlier. He's like, what time are we going tonight? I was like, normal time, 8 p.m. Central. Was like, topic, rookie mock draft. I'm like, okay. He's like, and I was like, and John McGlynn's joined us. He was like, fuck yeah, John McGlynn. He was way more fired up to have you on the show. He could explain himself next week to Matt, but John.
Fuck, wouldn't he be more excited?
Oh boy. See, that's why. There we go.
All right, we're going to get out of here real quick. Please download the Fast Draft app. And if you live in a bum-ass state like I do in Indiana and you can't play, you can play for free. They have a game where you can play. Matt is working on getting this thing available in more states. there's a free game that you can win fast draft bucks. And then when your state becomes legal, or they allow it in your state, because it's not illegal, it's not crack, but when it becomes available for your state, you can then turn those promo bucks and use them as if they were real bucks. So go ahead and download the Fast Draft app. If you're able to download and deposit, use promo code WarZone. Check out John on the Dynasty Evaluation podcast. And we'll be back next week with none other than the man himself, Mr. Matt Kelly, the Podfather. Guys, thanks for tuning in. And remember, we're just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football. Peace.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.